You always told yourself, I just need more motivation and willpower. Maybe you made a plan to study English every day. You were motivated, you were excited, and for the first few days, you did it. But soon, it started to feel harder. You stopped because you were using willpower like it's unlimited, because your energy ran out, because life got busy. Every time you push yourself to act, your brain burns energy. And your brain doesn't like that. It's designed to save energy, not spend it. So when we rely only on willpower, we eventually hit resistance. We feel tired, distracted, and unmotivated. We call it laziness, but it's really just burnout. Think about this. Every time you say, I should exercise, your brain hears, this is hard, this costs energy. It feels like a struggle instead of a habit. And every time you force yourself to act, it drains your battery a little more. That's why it becomes harder and harder to keep going. Until one day, you give up, not because the goal is wrong, but because the method is. This is what we call the internal conflict loop. You know what you want, you know what to do, but because you depend only on your willpower, the action feels heavy. You get stuck in a loop of starting strong and quitting early, and every time you quit, you trust yourself a little less. That's how people fall into self-doubt and repeat the loops for months or even years. They blame themselves. They say, I'm just not disciplined, because if you keep burning willpower every day without support, your brain will eventually push back. Not because it hates change, but because it hates effort without rest. But discipline isn't the issue. The problem is the system. We were taught that success comes from trying harder, but sometimes success comes from trying smarter. What you need is not more motivation. What you need is less resistance. Because when the habits are automatic, you don't have to force yourself. And the longer you stay in this struggle, the more you fear starting again. That's why many dreams are shattered, not from lack of passion, but from inner exhaustion. If you've ever started strong but couldn't keep going, you're not the only person trapped. You're just using the wrong system. But here's the good news. We could develop a more effective system. And today, we're going to change that old system. Let's talk about the mindset shift that makes everything easier. How do we build habits that don't rely on willpower alone? The answer lies in a powerful shift. Automate your actions. Instead of forcing yourself to choose discipline every day, you build a system that chooses for you. This is the secret behind lasting change. Because when something becomes automatic, it becomes easy. And when it's easy, you'll keep doing it, even on your tired, busy, or lazy days. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't argue with yourself every night. You don't need motivation. You just do it. That's the power of turning actions into automatic routines. You're not depending on motivation. You're depending on design. And to make this shift work in your life, you only need 3 smart strategies. First, we'll use habit stacking, a way to connect new habits with actions you already do so they become part of your daily flow. Second, we'll focus on Keystone habits, those special habits that, once established, naturally lead to other positive changes. Third, we'll use environment design, setting up your space to make good habits easy and obvious, and bad habits harder to do. These 3 methods may sound simple, but when used together, they create a system. A system that makes good habits feel natural. A system that removes friction so you stop battling your brain every day. A system that helps you move forward without burning out your energy. It's not about how strong your willpower is, it's about how effective your system is. Because if your system is strong, your habits become automatic. And when your habits are automatic, success stops being a struggle. That's how you break the cycle. That's how you build habits that lasts, not for a week, but for a lifetime. Let's start with the first one, habit stacking. This is one of the easiest and most effective ways to build a new habit. Here's the idea. Instead of creating a brand new routine from scratch, you connect a new habit to something you already do every day. Something automatic, something stable, something your brain already recognizes. It's like tying a new action to an old anchor. This makes the new habit easier to remember, easier to repeat, and harder to forget. You don't need extra motivation. You don't need to remember. The action becomes part of your daily rhythm. Let's look at a real example. Think about your daily commute. You take the subway or bus to work every morning. It's something you do without thinking. You find your seat. You scroll on your phone. Maybe you listen to music or just wait for the ride to end. Now set a new rule. Every time you sit down on the train, you automatically open your favorite English podcast. That's it. No pressure, no complicated plan, just a clear, simple rule. When I sit down, I press play on my English podcast. You're not adding a new task to your day. You're just replacing part of your routine with something more powerful. This is habit stacking in action. And here's why it works. Your brain loves patterns. When you repeat the same action in the same situation, your brain starts to connect them. It creates a shortcut, a mental link. Soon, your commute automatically becomes English time. You don't have to decide. You don't have to fight yourself. The habit just happens almost like muscle memory. And here's something important to remember. Habit stacking is not about how much you do. It's about how often you do it. You don't need to finish a full episode. You don't need to study notes. You don't need to force a deep focus. Every 20-minute podcast adds up, day by day, ride by ride. Your ears get used to the sounds of English. Your brain starts picking up words, phrases, intonation, and over time, those tiny steps build something huge. Think about it, 30 minutes a day during your commute. That's more than 180 hours of English input in 1 year. No extra time needed, no willpower burned, just a smart system that works in the background of your life. And there's something else that makes this powerful. When you consistently show up for your habit, even in a small way, you start seeing yourself differently. You begin to believe, I'm someone who learns English every day. That identity shift is gold. Because once your actions support a new identity, your motivation becomes automatic. It's no longer about trying to be consistent. You already are consistent. That's the quiet power of habit stacking. It takes your current routine and turns it into a tool for transformation. You're not adding pressure. You're removing resistance. You're not making time. You're using time you already have. So, if you want to build a habit that lasts, don't focus on intensity. Focus on frequency. Attach it to something stable, something predictable, and watch your new habit grow stronger day by day. That's how small steps turn into big change. Now, let's move to the second method, Keystone habits. Keystone habits are not just any habits. They are the kind of habits that create a ripple effect. A keystone habit is a powerful trigger. Once you build it, it naturally leads to other good habits. Like a domino, once it falls, everything else begins to move. That's what makes it powerful. Let me give you an example. Imagine you build a simple habit. Every night before bed, you spend 10 minutes planning tomorrow. You write down just one important task for the next day. It sounds small, but here's what happens next. In the morning, you wake up with clarity. No decision fatigue, no guessing where to begin. You start your day with purpose, not confusion. And that feeling, that sense of direction carries you forward. You work better. You focus faster. You finish tasks sooner. That one habit creates structure. It reduces stress. It builds confidence. That's how keystone habits work. It's like hitting one switch and lighting up multiple rooms. They don't just improve one thing, they lift everything. They build emotional energy. They strengthen your belief in yourself. They help you feel like the kind of person you've always wanted to be. And once that belief is there, your actions start to match it. So how do you choose a keystone habit? Look for something small that creates a big ripple, something that improves your energy, your clarity, or your confidence, and something that connects to the version of yourself you want to become. You don't need to change everything at once. You just need to change the one thing that changes everything. That's the power of a keystone habit. Now, let's explore the third and final method, environment design. This is where real change becomes easier, because you stop depending on willpower and start letting your surroundings do the work. Environment design means shaping your space in a way that supports your goals. It removes friction, reduces excuses, and makes the right choice the easy choice. Let's take a common goal, morning exercise. You tell yourself, tomorrow I'll wake up early and work out. But in the morning, your bed feels warm, the room feels cold, you can't find your workout clothes. So you stay in bed. You tell yourself, maybe tomorrow, and the habit dies before it even starts. Now imagine a different setup. The night before, you lay out your workout clothes right next to your bed, your shoes, your water bottle, your earphones, they're all ready to go. Maybe you even sleep in your workout shirt, so you feel prepared the second you wake up. So when you wake up, there's nothing to think about. No decisions, no resistance, no motivation required. You just get up, grab your things, and go. That's environment design. You remove every excuse. You remove every delay. You make the action obvious, easy, and ready. And most importantly, you make it feel automatic. Here's the key idea. Your environment should remind you who you want to become. If your space supports laziness, you'll feel lazy. If your space supports movement, you'll move. If you want to practice English every evening, keep your study materials on your desk, not hidden in a drawer. If you want to eat healthier, place fruit on the counter and remove junk food from sight. Your environment speaks to you every day without words. So let it speak the right message. Reduce the number of choices. Reduce the number of excuses. Let your environment do the heavy lifting. Because when you remove resistance, action becomes the default. And when action becomes easy, consistency becomes natural. That's how habits are built, not just by trying harder, but by designing smarter. That's how powerful environment design can be. Now that we've covered all three methods, Let's put it all together. Habit stacking helps you anchor new actions to routines you already do. It makes change feel natural, not like a struggle, but like a rhythm. Keystone habits give you leverage. They're small actions with big effects. They create ripple effects that shape your energy, identity, and direction. Environment design removes friction. It helps you act with ease, not effort. By preparing your space, you prepare your success. These methods work because they don't depend on willpower alone. They're not about trying harder, they're about trying smarter. They build a system around your goals, a system that works quietly in the background, a system that saves your energy, protects your focus, and supports your growth. When your system is strong, you don't need to force yourself every day. You wake up and your clothes are ready. You sit down and the podcast plays. You plan your day and your focus is clear. And when that becomes your routine, something powerful happens. You stop feeling guilty for not being motivated enough. You start to see results, not from pushing hard, but from showing up consistently. You don't need more willpower, you need a better system. And now you have one. These 3 methods are not just tricks, they're your tools. And they're here to help you move forward without burning out, without beating yourself up. Once your system starts working for you, success is no longer a struggle. It becomes your new normal. And from there, everything starts to change. And now you have the tools to change that. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to take the next step. Start with one habit, one anchor, one small shift in your environment. Let it be easy. Let it be gentle. Let it grow. Because with the right system, change doesn't feel like pressure. It feels like progress. And step by step, you'll go farther than you ever imagined. You're not here to fight your way forward. You're here to design your way forward. And trust me, once you do, everything changes. These are not shortcuts. They are strategies. Strategies that help you stop fighting yourself and start flowing with the change you want. You just needed a better way to begin. You don't have to be extreme. You just have to be consistent. Design your environment, choose your keystone habit, stack your first action, and let your system carry you forward until effort becomes ease and change becomes who you are. Your future starts now, and it begins with one small, smart step.